Welcome to Mr. Sanish's Art Studio. Today we're going to be working on Scratchboard Techniques. We are going to be working with different techniques such as hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and scumbling. We're also going to create a value scale, and we're also going to show them on our different forms. Now before we begin, let me talk about the different tools that you have. One tip is going to be more of a diamond shape. The other one is going to be a little bit more rounded. You will see in how I use them at different times throughout my techniques. So I'm now going to go ahead and start with hatching. I have started with the diamond tip. So now I'm going to create these nice fine lines just like you had learned in our drawing techniques. You want to make sure that you're also making smaller type of lines and also lighter pressure at the beginning, so when you do make that mistake, it's not the end of the world. So again, I want you guys to be practicing these and doing these techniques, maybe not with me right away, but eventually you could come back and then work with me on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on the cross hatching. Once again, I'm going to just start with my nice fine lines of those parallel lines, just like the hatching. Now again, the more lines I place closer together, the more of the highlight I will create. So again, we are working backwards. So as you can see, as how I also will go back into some of the areas, and I also forgot to mention the different type of pressure that I will also be using. Pressure is very important because again, by my pressure, I can be showing different types of value. Now I'm going to go ahead with my stippling. Stippling is, again, just as what we have been learning before, is that you want to create different type of dots. The closer the dots together, the more of the highlight that you will create. So again, I'm just kind of practicing and how I'm going to show my going from my white to then my dark. So again, the more dots I place closer together, the lighter it's going to be. Now scumbling is something that we haven't really talked about before. You may have seen it before in the video, but we've never really used it as much. This is just basically small little type of circles that I am making. This is really nice to show different type of textures on, maybe your image that you are creating. It's also really nice to show a lot of depth to your technique too, because as you can see, I'm also kind of going back over some of those areas, creating more of those highlights. Again, I'm still working with my pressure. I'm going to be, as I go further into that blacker area, I'm going to loosen my pressure up. But you also will see in how I come back. So for most of these so far, all I've been using is that diamond tip tool that I had given you. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go down to the value scale, and once again I'm going to be showing you in how that we're just going to be doing the opposite, going from the whitest area then to the darkest area. And again, how I'm doing that is that the first square, I'm going to get rid of all the black onto there. Okay. Then I'm going to proceed and just kind of going into the next one where there's going to be a little bit more of the black of the paper will be showing, and then I will continue with that same process, continuing to take away the amount of lines and also the amount of pressure. Now the difficult part about when you are working with Scratchboard is that you will learn that once you scratch it away, it is gone. So you can't really come back and try to fix it. So that is why it's important to practice these techniques, understanding how the paper is used, and how to apply these techniques with your pressure. Now my pressure is really light now, and you can see that from that light to dark. Now I'm going to go ahead and proceed to my hatching. Now for my hatching, I'm going to have my light source from the left. I drew on the paper, okay? So the nice part is that you can just take a normal pencil. You just have to be aware of the pencil that you do use, because if it's a sharp pencil, you may scratch it. All right, you don't want to do that. So I just use a normal HB pencil, and I went ahead and I drew the cone on there first. I also placed a shadow on there so that I had it, somewhat marked out of what I was doing. So as you can see, the light source is coming from the left, so I'm going to really take away a lot of the left hand side of that cone. And again, this is just my hatching technique. I still want to be making sure that I'm following the form around, so I'm giving that object to become more three-dimensional. So I cannot come across straight. I want to make sure that I'm bending my lines. But you can also see in how I am also being aware of how I'm going to leave the other side dark. So now I'm just going to kind of do a quick little background where I'm just going to take away, and then all of a sudden you can see in how much more you can see that form as I take it away. So again, just have to remember that we're just working opposite. And I'm going to continue saying that, but I want you guys to understand that. And the thing is too, is that you don't want to be thinking of outlining it, and a lot of students do that at the beginning in order to show it. But you can see in how I'm showing it through my value and then the highlighted area, and then I kind of get everything else around. I even are still showing my shadow that is being placed, so I'm leaving the black of the paper on there, or the black of the ink as I may say, so that you're able to see it. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my scumbling. Scumbling is going to be coming from the same light source again, from the left. Now this took me to do this entire sheet of paper about a half hour. So you may do a couple of these, come back to it later. That's completely fine. But just make sure that you do practice this. And I also would like for you to show your practice in your Scratchboard technique journal. Sorry. So once again, I'm just kind of working with that circular motion for the scumbling, making sure that the left hand side is going to be my darkest area. I really do like scumbling because of how much I can kind of go over it and really give more depth to the form. But once again, I'm just kind of still working with my same process, following the form, making sure that it's going to be three-dimensional. Now for this, I'm also going to be placing light as if the can is open. I know it's just a cylinder, but I'm going to make it look like you're able to look in. So if I'm going to have that, then what you're going to do is that the lightest area inside is going to be opposite. Okay, so that's important to understand when you're working on an opening. I know I have shown you guys that in drawing one, but now you just want to kind of come back to this as you're working on it and just think again on how we created that. So as you can see, this is going to be the lighter area because that is showing the opening of that cylinder or can. And again, I'm just going to scrape away the background just so that you're able to see it a lot more. Now going back to the slides, if you had looked over the slides, there are a lot of different techniques that you may use. I mean, I'm just showing you 4. There are plenty of other ones, and however you may need to show your image that you're creating, that's fine. You know, if you're needing, because it's like if I'm showing different types of texture of hair, fur, you know, really it just depends on what you're doing. and you may find a better technique, and that's fine, as long as that you're able to show your object and do it correctly, not have it where it's just outline. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and go down onto my stippling. I forgot to also mention, as I do the bigger areas, so first I'm working with that more the diamond tip, but when I do my background, in order to cut away a little bit faster, or scrape away, sorry, I definitely use the rounded tip. So that's another thing that you may want to practice before you start all this. Maybe just kind of try out these tips, see what you're comfortable with, which one works better for what technique. So again, for stippling, it's the same type of process that you had done before. You want to make sure that you're still following the form of the cylinder, of the sphere. And as you can see, I'm kind of rounding it out, placing dots closer to create more of that highlighted area. Again, I'll go ahead and I kind of made a mistake right there, but I'm gonna just kind of cover it up. So there are, you definitely will make some mistakes. You just have to learn how to work through it. So now, once again, I'm just gonna quickly put in this background, scrape that all away so that you're able to see the form a little bit more clear. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and kind of put a little bit of the stippling in the shadow itself. Just a tad, just to kind of finish it up. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go work on to my last technique, which is going to be my cross hatching. For my cross hatching, once again, I'm going to be following the form of it, but noticing how I'm kind of working, I start off, and you may not want to start off with this, and that's fine. I'm more comfortable, and I forgot to be mentioning is how at first when I'm working with my pressure, it is definitely lighter. I'm not working with huge marks at first, so that I'm kind of like getting myself to understand how to show it. So I'm just putting it on, and then I just continue to work over it with these different layers. And it's really nice because even though I'm using the diamond tip, you will see in how I'll kind of come back in with the round tip, and it clears it away, but you can still see the depth of what I'm doing. So you can still see that other type of technique that I've shown underneath. But once again, I'm kind of going different directions. As the cross hatching, I'm coming across, but I'm bending it. I'm coming down, I'm bending it, making sure that I'm going to have that nice highlighted area, so that you know where the light source is coming from. And right now, I'm also, the camera is going into faster motion. This took me a while to do all of this, so don't think that this is going to take within 10 minutes to show all four. Take your time doing it, learning from your mistakes, learning as you're proceeding on from one technique to the other. You also discover, one of the techniques that you prefer a little bit more. So as a review, we worked with hatching, scumbling, stippling, cross hatching, and graded value scale. Remember about your pressure and the technique of how to show value on your image. Thank you for watching this, and I'd like for all of you to stay healthy.